I think what I remember most about films is the people that I've worked with rather than the film itself.
In Hollywood, legends come and go, but few cast a shadow as long and as rugged as Sam Elliott. With a voice carved from gravel and a presence that feels like the American West itself, Elliott has been a staple in film and television for over 6 decades. He's not just played cowboys, he's lived the spirit of one, stoic, honorable, rooted in values that don't bend with the wind. He's the kind of actor who lets a pause say more than a monologue, whose silence hits harder than a scream. But behind the mustache, the slow drawl, and the wide-brimmed hats, there's been something simmering, quietly, fiercely, a list, a blacklist. Not of criminals or villains, but of fellow actors and creatives who, in Sam Elliott's eyes, crossed a line. Some disrespected the craft, others misrepresented the West, and a few, they simply broke something sacred. This list wasn't scrawled in anger or born from petty jealousy. It was built over time, brick by silent brick, through moments of frustration, betrayal, and deep disappointment. It's not just about bad performances, it's about principle. Sam Elliott grew up in a Hollywood that demanded patience, discipline, and reverence for storytelling. A world where actors paid their dues, studied the greats, and earned every line they spoke. Watching that world be replaced by red carpet posturing and overnight fame wasn't just painful. It felt like watching a cathedral burn. To Sam, acting was never just a career, it was a code. And those who broke that code by faking the West, mocking tradition, or turning performance into performance art didn't just offend him, they wounded something personal. Some names made the list with a single role. Others took years of silent resentment. But once on that list, there was no going back, no apology, no redemption arcs. Because for Sam Elliott, forgiveness is reserved for honest men. And Hollywood? Well, it stopped being honest a long time ago. At 80 years old, Sam Elliott is finally done staying silent. The names on his list might surprise you, but the reasons run deep. This isn't just about dislike, it's about legacy, betrayal, and a dying code of honor in a town obsessed with flash over truth. For decades, Elliott stayed quiet, gritting his teeth through premieres, press junkets, and photo ops with actors he didn't respect. He played the game, but he never sold his soul to it. Because behind that steely stare is a man who's watched Hollywood shift from storytelling to self-branding, from character to clout. And for someone who built his entire identity on being real, authentically, unapologetically real, that shift wasn't just frustrating, it was heartbreaking. What's changed, Sam says, isn't just the actors, it's the value, it's the absence of struggle, it's the disappearance of grit, of quiet strength, of the humility that once defined leading men. In their place, vanity, noise, and shortcuts, fame without the work, awards without the scars. And while others bite their tongues to protect careers, Sam's career doesn't need protection. He's already carved his legacy in stone. Now, with nothing left to lose and everything to preserve, he's calling it like he sees it. Every name on that list is a story, a cautionary tale, a line drawn in the sand. So saddle up. We're about to ride through the untold feuds of Sam Elliott, through a battlefield not of bullets, but of broken trust, bruised tradition, and the fading echo of a Hollywood that once knew how to listen. 1. Kevin Costner, the cowboy Sam couldn't stand. The most famous modern cowboy of television, Kevin Costner, star of Yellowstone, icon of Wyatt Earp, and a household name in the Western genre. But for Sam Elliott, none of that earned Costner respect. In fact, it cost him plenty. Sam didn't just question Costner's performances, he questioned his right to wear the hat at all. To Sam, being a cowboy isn't an aesthetic. It's not about how good you look on a horse or how perfectly your duster coat flows in slow motion. It's about something far deeper, something spiritual. It's about lived experience, pain, silence, and hard-earned grit. The cowboy, to Sam, is not a symbol of Americana. It's a way of surviving, a lonely kind of honor that doesn't need applause. So when Kevin Costner stepped into the spotlight with roles like Wyatt Earp and later Yellowstone's John Dutton, Sam didn't see a torchbearer for the Western tradition. He saw a Hollywood fabrication, a dressed-up version of the life he had actually lived. "He plays a rancher like it's dress up," Sam once muttered to a friend, "like he's cosplaying something he doesn't understand." To the world, Yellowstone was a cultural reset. It brought the Western back into prime time, made cowboy hats fashionable again, and turned Costner into a patriarchal icon. But to Sam, it was a glossy fever dream, too cinematic, too polished, too neat. The West, he knew, wasn't scored by sweeping violins and tight plot twists. It was muddy, brutal, and quiet. It was about doing your work in silence and leaving the drama behind with the sunrise. Insiders say the rift between the two men was silent but sharp. There were no public feuds, no red carpet face-offs, just a mutual avoidance. One producer from an award event whispered, "When they're in the same room, everyone feels it. It's like winter moved in." What hurt Sam most wasn't the commercial success of Yellowstone. It was what it represented, the repackaging of struggle for entertainment, the glorification of ranch life without its heartbreak. The cowboy image sold back to the world by someone who, in Sam's view, hadn't paid the emotional toll. When Sam refused a cameo offer on Yellowstone, it wasn't about pride, it was about principle. Because for Elliott, the West isn't for sale. It's a sacred code, one forged in silence, sweat, and scars. And if you haven't lived it, you shouldn't wear the hat. While the world praised Yellowstone as a modern Western masterpiece, Sam saw a soap opera in spurs, glossy, loud, over-styled. It wasn't the raw, quiet intensity that defined the West to him. It was television's shiny attempt to capitalize on nostalgia. Even when offered a role in Yellowstone, Sam declined. Not out of ego, but principle. He refused to give his credibility to a show he saw as romanticized fiction. When the two men crossed paths at events, they never argued. They didn't need to. The silence between them was enough. One producer famously joked, "When Sam and Kevin are in the same room, the temperature drops 10 degrees. To Sam, Costner represented everything Hollywood got wrong about the West. And that was a betrayal too big to forgive. 2. Benedict Cumberbatch, too British for the frontier. When The Power of the Dog hit theaters in 2021, critics raved, audiences wept, and awards followed. But Sam Elliott? He fired a verbal shot heard across Hollywood. It happened on a podcast, Marc Maron's WTF. Sam didn't sugarcoat. He didn't play coy. Instead, he unleashed. "There are all these guys running around in chaps and no shirts," he said. "And all these damn hints at homosexuality through the whole movie." Then came the line that stung the most. What the hell does this Brit know about the American West? He was, of course, referring to Benedict Cumberbatch. To Sam, Cumberbatch's performance wasn't just wrong, it was offensive. Not because of the themes, but because of the style. It was, in Elliott's eyes, theater pretending to be truth. British posture, exaggerated lines, emotional unraveling, all delivered in a cadence that felt rehearsed, not lived. Cumberbatch never responded publicly. Studios debated it. PR teams wrote drafts. But ultimately, silence won. Sam's voice was the only one echoing. He wasn't just critiquing an actor, he was defending a way of life. For Sam Elliott, the Western isn't a genre, it's a creed, a sacred, slow-burning narrative built on survival, not symbolism. In his world, the cowboy's strength doesn't come from grand speeches or tortured monologues. It comes from silence, from enduring, from doing the hard thing when no one's looking. That's why The Power of the Dog hit him like a betrayal. To critics, Jane Campion's film was a masterpiece, a psychological drama layered with repression, trauma, and subverted masculinity. But to Sam, it was all wrong, too mannered, too modern, too theatrical. The sweeping landscapes were there, but the soul of the West wasn't. What bothered him most wasn't the subject matter. It was the stylized detachment, the sense that the film looked at the West from a safe distance, like a tourist studying a diorama. "There are all these guys running around in chaps and no shirts," Sam scoffed. during his now infamous podcast appearance, and all these damn hints at homosexuality through the whole damn movie. His frustration wasn't rooted in prejudice, it was rooted in authenticity. In his view, the film took real cowboy life and twisted it into a slow-motion metaphor, stripping it of the dust, the dirt, and the decades of quiet suffering that defined the frontier. To Sam, The Power of the Dog didn't reinterpret the Western, it violated it, and in doing so, it lost its soul. He wasn't alone in his thinking either. Some old-school Western purists quietly nodded in agreement. They too felt like the film had taken something intimate and mythic and turned it into a cerebral art piece. Not a story about men surviving a brutal landscape, but about characters unraveling under the weight of theme. In Sam's eyes, the West wasn't supposed to be a canvas for postmodern introspection. It was a crucible, a place that burns away pretense and reveals the truth beneath. And truth, to him, didn't need decoding. It just needed to be shown. That's the line The Power of the Dog crossed. It didn't just change the Western, it disconnected it from its roots. And Sam Elliott, the last real cowboy in Hollywood, wasn't about to let that go without a fight. 3. Ashton Kutcher, the face of everything Sam hates about modern Hollywood. Sam Elliott grew up in a time when acting was sacred. You didn't fake it, you earned it. Every role came from a place of emotional truth. So when Ashton Kutcher exploded into fame with goofy sitcoms, romantic comedies, and a booming tech career, Sam wasn't just unimpressed, he was offended. When the two were cast together in Netflix's The Ranch, people expected sparks, and they got them, just not the good kind. On screen, they had chemistry, but off-screen, cold silence. Crew members described a quiet tension. Sam was professional. He always is, but he never warmed up to Kutcher. He's a decent guy, Sam reportedly said, but not a real actor. To Sam, Kutcher represented a dangerous evolution, a world where image trumped talent, where followers mattered more than fundamentals, where acting wasn't a calling, it was a gig. Kutcher called Sam a mentor in interviews, praised him, but Sam never returned the sentiment. Privately, he once said, "He acts like someone who learned acting on YouTube." It wasn't personal, it was philosophical. To Sam, Ashton was a symptom of Hollywood's decay, a product of a generation that mistook charm for craft. 4. Nicolas Cage, the firework with no flame. If Sam Elliott is a quiet storm, Nicolas Cage is a tornado. They shared the screen in Ghost Rider, but barely shared anything else. No connection, no bond, no warmth. Where Sam believes in restraint, Cage thrives on chaos, shouts, flailing limbs, wild choices. To fans, it's brilliance. To Sam, it's noise. He never named Cage directly, but in interviews, he talked about actors who hijack scenes and turn movies into circuses. Friends knew who he meant. "He's more firework than flame," Sam once said. "Big bang, no heat." Cage's method, too loud, too showy, too theatrical. For Sam, it wasn't art, it was ego. He believed acting should whisper, not scream. That great performances don't beg for attention, they draw you in without trying. While Cage won awards and built a cult following, Sam stood rooted in an older truth, a belief that less is more, that subtlety is power. To him, Cage wasn't dangerous, he was distracting, and that, in Sam's book, was unforgivable. 5. Jeff Bridges, the friend who drifted away. Not all wounds come from fights. Some come from silence. Jeff Bridges wasn't just a co-star, he was a brother. Together, they starred in The Big Lebowski, a cult classic that showcased their rare, magnetic stillness. Off-camera, they shared quiet talks about craft, humility, and how to survive in an industry that rewards noise. Then came Crazy Heart. Bridges won the Oscar, and Sam clapped. But something shifted. Bridges started showing up on magazine covers, wearing designer suits, speaking more boldly, more politically. The man who once preferred shadows was stepping fully into the light. To many, it was a natural evolution. To Sam, it felt like betrayal. The man who used to sip coffee and whisper lines was now a symbol of everything we stood against, Sam reportedly told a friend. When asked in an interview about old collaborators, Sam said, Some folks change, others just show who they always were. He never named Jeff. He didn't have to. Their friendship didn't end with a fight. It ended with silence. No more calls, no more projects, just distance. And for Sam Elliott, that hurt more than all the other names combined. 6. Jared Leto, the method actor who pushed Sam over the edge. Sam Elliott's biggest pet peeve isn't arrogance, it's pretension. And no one, in his eyes, embodied that more than Jared Leto. Leto's reputation for extreme method acting, sending rats to castmates, refusing to break character for weeks, wasn't dedication to Sam, it was theater for theater's sake. He turns sets into obstacle courses. Sam once said privately, if he needs that much effort to act, maybe he's in the wrong profession. Sam was once attached to a film Leto later joined. The moment he heard Leto was cast, he walked. No call, no statement, just gone. That's how strongly he felt. Acting to him isn't about press buzz or performance art. It's about truth, simplicity, humanity. To Sam, Leto represents the furthest point from what acting is supposed to be. A circus, a show, not a soul. Sam Elliott doesn't seek drama. He doesn't pick fights for the spotlight. But at 80 years old, he's not holding back anymore. His blacklist isn't about grudges. It's about a deeper pain. The feeling that the art he's spent his life protecting is slipping away, replaced by trends, by spectacle, by empty fame. He believes in silence over speeches, in story over style, in grit over glamour. And maybe that makes him outdated. Maybe it makes him stubborn, but it also makes him rare. In a town obsessed with reinvention, Sam Elliott stands firm. A relic? Perhaps. But one made of steel, not sand. While younger stars chase algorithms, image makeovers, and press cycles, Sam remains exactly what he always was. Grounded, deliberate, and real. He doesn't adjust his voice for trending interviews. He doesn't post behind-the-scenes selfies or beg for likes. His brand isn't curated, it's earned. Hollywood loves to reinvent its legends, repackaging old heroes into flashy templates for new audiences. But Sam resists that pull. He doesn't want to be reimagined. He wants to be remembered for what he was always about: honesty, restraint, presence. That kind of staying power doesn't come from PR strategies. It comes from living the truth you portray on screen. For decades, directors and actors have leaned on his presence to lend their projects credibility. That slow walk, that weathered voice, that stare that seems to carry the weight of entire generation. And when he speaks, whether it's a single line in a script or a quiet moment in real life, you don't just hear him, you feel him. Because Sam Elliott isn't playing a cowboy. He is one, maybe not by birthright, but by belief, by discipline, by devotion to the values the cowboy once represented: dignity, silence, loyalty, and grit. So when Sam speaks, whether through words or through that piercing, time-worn gaze, you listen, because in the end, he's not just an actor. He's the last real cowboy. And he's not riding off into the sunset. He is the sunset.